All right, yeah, I am totally full of shit. That's obviously not what was under the tarp. Um, so I did. I went to the farm yesterday. I went to Dave's farm for the first time in. Well, I went a few weeks ago just for to drop in, quick little visit to set this deal up basically and whatnot. And spoken to Bloke and to Rick, of course, not all at the farm, but different places, and we did a deal. We made a deal. So it's pretty fun. It's gonna be a cool little project, and hopefully this thing's finally gonna get the attention that it should have got. I don't know, shit, over 10 years ago. So let's get to it, and I'll show you what I'm at. Well, there's that old clutch somebody sent Rick years ago that he never put in. There it is. There's Rick's dune buggy that was hanging from the ceiling in Dave's shop for 10 years or 11 years, something like that. And Dave made a video of this way back when. I remember about everything that was wrong with it, or how it was built wrong, but I mean it was the fabrication and welding skills, whoever built this thing, because it's a handmade cart, it's not a kit. It seems like a kit, it's that good, but it's not. And their fabrication skills, welding skills, everything, just incredible. Even to include rack and pinion steering and control arms with suspension. But the problem is with the suspension, you can go back, I think there's an old Dave Farm video archive sort of thing. You can find it on there. And basically the suspension geometry here is completely all wrong. Basically your ball joint should be center with your wheel inside. You need about a 12 to 15 degree bend sort of thing on that arm. Basically the entire spindles are no good and wrong, and the control arms, upper and lower as well, are going to have to be completely rebuilt, or remade. And the reason for that is because obviously you can see where that ball joint is. You want that center inside a rim. Well, you're going to have some scrub. It's just going to happen with this type of wheel and hub system. There's different wheel possibilities and everything else that we can do on this thing. Of course, the front's a lot wider than the rear. That's okay. That's ideal, actually, for something like this. Either way, we'll have to figure out what's going on here. Obviously, it's going to be a long work in progress. The control arms are bolted to really thin steel. I don't like that, and actually they were loose too. So the holes are kind of getting ovaled out. So paint's peeling, some rust. Brakes don't work anymore. Brake system's actually set up wrong. This is the front rotor off of the Yamaha motorcycle. And this is a speedometer hub on it too, but there's no speedometer. And then they aluminum welded it to another aluminum block that's keyed and has set screws in it. And that's the braking system, but as you can see, it's really close to this side, and way down there, the rotor is actually rubbing on the mount itself. So that's no good. And what I think needs to happen here, and actually the brake pads are sitting on an angle like this. They're sitting like that because it's just not set up right. So what I think we need to do here is probably pull this off all the way, flip that rotor around and move this hub back, and then that should straighten everything up right there. This was Yamaha Maxim with a shaft drive motorcycle, so it's got this jack shaft system down there that I really don't like. Also, look at the angle on the chain here. It's not very good. So that all needs to be addressed, and of course there's no room here to move the differential over any. So we have to figure out what we're doing on that. You can see the wear on that sprocket from the chain riding on it wrong, sideways more or less. So if you guys too also remember way back in the day, of course the clutch is no good in it, and it smoked like a son of a bitch. So Dave's opinion on that in the video back when was that because it's an air-cooled engine, it's not getting enough air to cool it, and I do completely agree with that. And he said that he thinks the rings are burnt out of it, so it's burning a lot of oil. What I actually found, I don't think that's the case because I haven't started it yet. And I have spun it over to make sure it's not seized, but I didn't start it, so don't think you guys missed anything. Down here, you got the window for the oil, and it's very black, so the oil is very dirty. But this cover has to come off to change the clutch anyway, so we're going to drain the oil, new filter, new clutch, and but you can see it's way over full. So I pulled the cap off and checked down inside, and it is way over full. So back here you have the breather tube, the crankcase breather tube that goes to the that's transmission. One's oil, transmission oil, I think. Let's see here, because it's separate gearboxes or separate boxes on there. There's a separate drive for from the gearbox to the differential box back here. Anyway, this is the crankcase breather right here where my finger is, and this is the air box here. So it goes up like that, and it sits in the buggy like this. So last night I opened this up, and full of oil, completely full of oil. There's so much oil in that thing because the engine's so overfull that it just keeps blowing oil into the intake, and it was sucking it up. That's what I think happened. It could still have bad rings, I'm not sure. But next thing I did was I drained out all the yellow, dirty, nasty fuel that was in there, and replaced the fuel line with a nice fabric braided petroleum rubber line. And it's not high pressure, it doesn't need to be, there's obviously no pressure there. And then I also flushed the tank too with some fresh fuel, and then put that fuel into the scrap. So the plungers for the main jets are sticky, very sticky. So what I'm going to do next now is just the ones on the end are really bad, and you can see on this one maybe better. You can see it on there. See the residue, the varnish that's sticking it in the jet there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold these up, and I'm going to spray brake cleaner in those and let them sit for a little while. Then I'm going to fill this fuel tank up, and or not all the way, but put some fuel in the fuel tank and let the bowls fill up. I want to drain the carb bowls, but unfortunately all these drain screws are all shitty on this thing, and I can't get any of them open. So worst case scenario, I'm going to end up having to take all the carburetors off and take the bowls off with the carburetors off the engine. But I'm going to try and refrain from doing that because it's a lot more work that I don't want to do. And in the future, I don't think I'm going to keep this engine on here anyways, because it's just not a good setup. I don't like the jack shaft, and I don't like all these chains. The brake system should be on this side, and this should just have one motorcycle engine with a regular sprocket sitting the other way with a ducting system of some sort for air cooling. That case, it would put the sprocket over here, and that would be much more ideal. And we could get a better brake system on it that way too. So now I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to cut the video right there, and don't worry, you guys won't miss any fun. Of course, it still has the same ancient old battery in there, so I'm just using jumper cables and a car battery. So let me see the next steps. The reason why I want to put fuel in here is to see if any fuel starts coming out of the vent holes of the carburetors. If they do, that will tell me that the floats are stuck. And who knows, we may end up having to pull these all apart anyways, since it was stored with fuel in it. And that's always not a good thing.